And joy is not the same thing as happiness. Joy and happiness are two different things. And one of the difference between joy and happiness is because happiness comes more from external. Happiness is more like an external response to an event, to something that happens to you. But joy is not an external, response. Joy is from the heart. Joy is more of an internal response to things, right? And so because joy is of the heart, it's not a response, not an external response to something that happens to you. And what that means is that no matter what is happening to you, no matter the chaos around you, no matter what comes around you, you can still thrive, you can still be joyful, right, regardless of the chaos or regardless of what life brings to you. And so the secret to living a life that is so whole, a life that is complete and abundant, is your joy. It's your joy. And when we master how to live out this joy, when we master how to live a life of joy, we find out that we have a life that is more fulfilling, a life that is more abundant, right? So the truth is this. The truth is this. It doesn't matter where you start from. It doesn't matter where you start from, where you are in life, right? It doesn't matter where you start from. Joy is internal. Joy is something that is, internal, something that's inside. And so no matter where you start from, you could use your joy, you could create a life of joy, and that life of joy would attract other things to you, bring other things you need to live an enjoyable life your way, right? And so if I want to live a life that is rich, a life that is enjoyable, a life that is full, a life that is abundant, and I am like, oh, where do I start from? How do I live this life? Where do I start from to live a life that is abundant and rich and all that? Where do I start from? The best place to start from, the secret place to start from, is not from the outside. It's to start from the place of joy. That's the secret place to start from. It's to start from the place of joy. And so when you start from the place of joy, you can work your way into all that you need. You can work your way into the desires that you have, right? So we start from the place of joy. And this is why healing is so important, because one of the things that healing does is that it unclogs our hearts. It unclogs our heart, because the truth is that this joy is inside of us, right? This joy is inside of us. And what happens is that it's like it's clogged up, the events that happen in life, it's just kind of clogged. You could see this joy in little children. You could see this joy in in babies and children. So I think we're all born with this joy inside of us to an extent. And so what happens is that as we go through life, the disappointment of life, the systems of life, right? The system of the world, the disappointments that come in life, the failures, the traumas, the pain that we go through, it kind of clogs our pipe. It kind of clogs the pipe of joy, from flowing out. And so what we do in the place of healing is to just help us unclog, this well of joy, this flow of joy. And for so many people, it's just been clogged with a lot of things. It's been clogged with fear and shame and disappointments and regrets and rejections, and all those things kind of have clogged the heart, have clogged the well of joy. And so it's so hard for many people to really express joy, because their joy tap is clogged already. So it's so hard for many people to have this outflow of joy from inside out, okay? And so the best they could have is material things. The best they could have is something external, like to make you happy. And when that event is past, and then it just freezes away. So happiness is it's so transient, right? So it just freezes away after a while, because the event that made you happy is not always there. But when you are able to cultivate joy, it's something that just keeps on, it's like an overflow, it just keeps flowing and flowing. It's like you drill into an aquifer. That's the way I'll say. You drill into an aquifer, and then you hit the real source, and that joy just keeps flowing from the inside. It just keeps flowing and flowing. And so the whole idea of healing is to get to the place where we can hit the aquifer. It's get to the place where we can unclog the issues that clogs our heart, so that the real joy will be able to flow. You get the point? So that the real joy will be able to flow. And so that's the whole game point of healing. So when we heal, we are able to unclog the shame, the pain, the disappointment, the regrets, the wounds, the traumas, the abandonment, and so that we can get to the place of healing, and we can get to the place of joy. We can, hit that joy well on the inside of us. And when we hit the joy well on the inside of us, it changes the whole scope of things for us in life. It brings us to that place where we can have a richer, fuller, more abundant life. So a life that is not based on what you have or not have, that is not based on the circumstance around you. It's based on, it's an internal thing. It's based on you. Like, I carry this joy. I come with it. I can create what I want to have. I'm carrying the secret sauce. Like, I have the secret sauce to create the life that I want to have. And I believe that's the place every woman needs to get to. I believe that's a place every woman needs to get to. So whether it's in our relationships, whether it's in our finances, whether it is in life generally, if we can be able to walk ourselves to the place of joy and stay there, if we're able to keep this this well of joy unclogged, like for the rest of our lives, we will be able to have life that is so full and so rich and so abundant, right? And that's one of the things I try to help women. I try to help women in the Wise Women Experience community to do, is to help women heal, is to help women get to the place where this joy, they hit the well of joy, they hit the aquifer, they hit this place, and they're able to just live life that is more abundant and that is more full and it's more filling. Okay, that's more fulfilling for them to have. So that's the whole idea of joy. That's the whole thing of joy. And thinking about this, I just like the fact that when we look at emotional scale, and one of the things we'll find out on the emotional scale is that joy is at the peak of the emotional scale, And if we actually have this idea that everything vibrates at different frequencies, right? And on the emotional scale, the joy is actually on the high frequency. The things we actually desire, the things we desire many times are on the high frequencies. So when we stay on that place, we are able to attract the healing, we're able to attract the joy, we're able to attract the abundance, the things that we desire in life. They come to us from that place of joy. I like the way one of my favorite scriptures is where it's in Habakkuk chapter 3. I wish I could read that to you now, but I don't have my Bible here. But it's in Habakkuk chapter 3. And one of the things that the prophet said there was like, though the fig tree will not bud, and though there will be no sheep in the pen or in the stall or something, and though he said a lot of things that were, though this does not happen, like if I have to translate it into today's language, I could go like, though I have no money in my pockets, right? And though I have no food in my no food in my storage, or though I have no money in my bank, or though I have no one with me, right? Though I'm not in a relationship, though I have no children, though I have no friend, though I have no we could put in anything into that, though I have no nothing. And the secret the prophet brought in that scripture is, though I have none of this, I will rejoice. And he said, I will rejoice. Like, how do you rejoice when you have nothing? How do you rejoice when there is nothing? Like, you completely have nothing. And that's to tell you, because joy is not something that comes from the external. Joy is something that it's on the inside of us, right? And so he said, I will rejoice. And then he said, when I do this rejoicing that I will do, right, things will begin to change. Things are going to change because I'm rejoicing. Like, when I keep rejoicing, things will begin to change for me. And it's so profound that if we get how life works, like if we get how the system works, the systems of the universe, the systems that God has put in place in the world. If we get how the systems of life work, we will stop worrying so much about things. I know we don't completely get to the place where we don't worry about things, right? Because we're humans, and so we sometimes get to think things, but we don't over worry about things. We don't get to the place where we're so anxious, because we know that joy is the secret sauce that would bring the thing that joy is the secret sauce to living a life that is more abundant and more fulfilling and more enjoyable. And so the whole idea is to walk ourselves to the place where we're completely joyful. Like, I am full of joy. I am full of joy. Like, it doesn't matter what happens to me right now. Nothing is going to steal my joy. I'm full of joy. And thinking about that, one of the scriptures that come to my mind thinking about this, it's where the Bible talks about guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. And when you think about joy and seeing that joy is from the heart, and joy is not from the mind or from the head, joy is from the heart, and you say guard your heart with all diligence. I believe what God is saying to us is that I want you to guard your joy. I want you to guard your joy, right? If this joy is from the heart, then I want you to guard your joy with all diligence. Like, do all you can to guard your joy so that nothing steals this joy from you, because it's out of the heart are all the issues of life. So everything that's going to affect you in life is going to come from the heart, right? And he says guard this heart, guard this joy, right? If joy is going to come from the heart, then guard this joy, right? Because if something happens to this joy, it's going to affect you in a great way. So guard your joy. And thinking about that, one of the things I want to bring forward is that it doesn't mean things are not going to happen to you. It doesn't mean offenses are not going to come, right? It doesn't mean someone is going to get us disappointed and probably we get hurt and or something happens. It doesn't mean that, but it means that regardless of what happens, we can still be able to look back and say, hey, I still have joy. Like, I still have joy. I'll pull through. I still have my joy intact. I'm so confident I'm going to pull through because my joy is still intact, right? And so offense would always come. That's the point. Offense would always come. But we should do well to be able to say, regardless of what happens, right? Regardless of what happens, my joy is still intact. I'm just going to close with this story. So some time ago, I had a project I was putting together, and I had spoken with someone to say, hey, would you want to be part of this project? And the person said, yeah, sure, I'll be part of it. And it didn't work out the way we planned it. It didn't work out like we wanted it to work out. And at that moment, I felt so disappointed and I felt so bad. I felt like, oh my God, this is not working out as I wanted it to work. And I just felt so disappointed about the whole thing, and it just kind of hurt me a bit. And I just sat down and I was like, oh God, why didn't this work out? I really wanted this to work out like this. And as I was thinking about that, and it just dawned on me, like there was this flicker of hope or light that just came up in my head. And I just said, God has 7 billion people on earth. Like, there are 7 billion people on earth, right? And so if this project doesn't work with this one person, it doesn't mean it's not going to work. God has 7 billion people on earth. And immediately that thought or that light just came into my heart. One of the things that happened to me was I was like, oh my God, I'm not disappointed anymore. Like, I'm going to work this out. I'm going to find a way around this, right? There's 7 billion people on earth, and one person is not going to make me feel disappointed and down and upset and all that, right? There are God has more than one person to get this sorted out for me, And so I think that's the place where we get to the place where I pray we get to the place where we're not so offended, like where we don't internalize our offense, right? Because we'll always be offended, but where we don't internalize this offense, where we get to the point where we can say, all right, this is a different perspective I'm going to take. I'm going to look at things from a different perspective, and because I don't want anything to steal my joy, right? I know this person did this to me or this event happened, but what if there's something behind this? What if there's something more, there's something bigger behind this? And then when we look at things from a different perspective, we'll be able to go like, I still can keep my joy regardless of what has happened to me, right? So this is my word to you. It's guard your heart. Guard your heart, and for some of you watching this, one of the things you need to do is unclog your heart. Is to unclog your heart so that joy can completely flow from your heart, right? Not happiness, but joy, because happiness and joy are two different things. Yeah, it's good to be happy. I'm not, discounting that. But beyond the happiness, that you have joy, you have eternal joy, And secondly, the second thing I want you to take out from this is that, so one, you have to unclog your heart so that joy can truly flow. And then the second thing is that you have to guard your heart, so that nothing steals your joy from you, right? And if you want to join the Wise Woman Experience community, yeah, you're free to join. It's definitely for women. So you're free to join the Wise Women community. I'll put the link in the description so that you could just click on the link and join the Wise Woman Experience community. Bye.